I'm going to go over two tickers, Aapl and ARM. First up is Aapl. We ended the day at $213.25, up 5.09, and we ran because of this headline right here. The company announced a $100 billion investment in U.S. manufacturing, totaling $600 billion over 4 years, including a Texas factory and 19 billion chips. And Goldman Sachs also increased the target to $266. So where are we? Well, we ended here at, again, 213.25, and one level of resistance and a potential take profit area at 2 standard deviations takes us to roughly 217.77. 220.90, and at 4 standard deviations, which I do not think we will get to on Thursday, perhaps some other day, that would be 223.60. Now to the south side takes us back to the middle of the trend and the baseline, and one level of support. Let me see, I'm going to change this. There we go. To this. Oh, that was not it. Oh, it's this one, I think. Yeah, there we go. That is the middle of the trend. I will anticipate a bounce off of that, or we could just start to grind sideways. But right now, we are in an upward channel. And to the south side takes us to -2 standard deviations, which is roughly 206.21. A gap forms at 205.45, closes out at -3 standard deviations, and that is 203.01. And at -4 standard deviations, that would take us to approximately $200.08. So looking left, you can see we bounced here off of support, and we hit this line, which I marked out previously, and that is resistance. And look, we just went sideways there. Another level of resistance, falling back down to support. On the way down, these lines turn into support, and on the way up, they turn into resistance. So they got to clear those areas. So we had a little bit of a bounce, and then we just grinded along this line and then sideways. And there's a tiny gap that I need to, draw out. And that touched right here on July 29th. Delete, And we had earnings here on the 31st. The company reported $94 billion. And word on the street was supposed to be 89, so obviously that is fantastic news there. And what happened? Look at the surge here, and then of course, what goes up must go down. What goes down doesn't necessarily get back up again, but sometimes you gotta get up to get down, and look at that right here. You know, as I've said, when we wick up this far and at 4 standard deviations and beyond, there is no way we're going to sustain that without falling back, consolidating, basing, barcoding to make another leg up. Just no way. And then let me let this sink here. There we go. And there was a gap here. That took us to $212.19. So congrats if you went long at this point when we flushed down. So we went down and then even lower and then closed that gap. It's been a little while since I've looked at this. Oh, Trader Murat talked about this going to 221, and the 1-year price target when I last looked at it was at 203.01, and we passed that. When did I draw that out? I got to show you this on the daily to see this. Oh my goodness, look, I have not cleaned up the chart here. This took us down to 198.76, your pullback. This is no longer a threat to our account. And then we had this gap at 195.60. 263. Again, we're at 213, so not too shabby there. We touched on June 17th, so let me delete that. No longer in play as well. Oh, and there was a tiny gap here at $200.08. I'm heavily into Apple. I'm up like 700%. So I really should have sold the dividends, my dividends here at 260 just to take some profit and then use the money to buy back in at a lower rate, but I haven't. I really need to be better at that and take my winnings. And this gap closed all the way down here. Let me show you this on the daily now so you can see it better. But if I draw this out on the daily, it's not going to line up with the 5-minute necessarily. Yeah, it's too much of a mess here. So we've got gaps all the way down here as well, but I don't know about those. I don't know that it's going to touch. I mean, I'd love it. I'd buy heavy again. Okay, that gap did touch right there. I know it's hard to see, but there's the, I'll just delete this white line. Okay, it touched with the wick, cleared it. That took us down to 164.19. And that opened up on, oh my gosh, Thursday, April 27th of 2023. That's how long this gap took to flush all the way down. And then finally clear. Look at this. We went up, sold off, went back around, and then closed it down here. Now we've got this gap to 160. Not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close. But you know, I've owned Apple for so long now that I feel like this ticker, I mean, we have had many splits, but we haven't had a split in a very long time. But this ticker should be like in the 500s to me. If Microsoft can get to the 500s, Apple can as well. I mean, it's crazy. But there's no reason it shouldn't be. And Palantir is moving up so closely, so quickly to this level as well. Okay, so we've got gaps there. The RSI on the daily is still turning up. Still, we've got room to move to the upside. And we've got room to the upside on the weekly. And on the monthly, also turning up. So all systems a go for Apple. But you know what? I really should give you the daily option R. Let me just show you the window. I know it's hard to see. We're at 213 and I'm gonna move on here. So we are right here. Okay, we are basically at this middle of the trend and going down on the daily, but the RSI is turning up. So the window to the north side takes us to 244.51. So that will clear this gap and basically take us back to the levels. This I marked out in 2024, the yellow horizontal lines. The purple lines are from 2025. So all we're doing is retracing and finally going back to these levels. And the 1-year price target is 233.70 and then 275. Yeah, let's get there, man. That'd be amazing. So now let's go to the 5-minute and go to ARM. The computer is slow. All right. The reason I'm going over this one is a trader Marat says that he bought ARM. I don't know what day he bought ARM, but he just let me know that he did on Monday. And he anticipates and expects this ticker to get back into the 175 range. So that would be fantastic. So as you can see, on that day, we did hit resistance. And you know what's going to happen. So right here, resistance and a pullback. This is support, didn't quite get there. We bounced up to resistance, fell back down to support and saw that bounce. This is resistance, we busted through. But look, we're just grinding slowly down. So let me give you the price targets for Thursday. So we're at the middle of the trend. So we could go sideways and chop here. And to the north side, one level of resistance takes us to 138.57, 139.72, 140.89. To the south side, 133.89, 132.70, and 131.52. All right, so what is happening? This gap closed to the downside. That's a pullback at 137.94 from up here. So it did close. And support, support. This gap closed to the upside at roughly, well, 141. Actually, did it really touch? No, it's going to hit this level. That did not touch. It looks like it did, like super close. Let me turn this on so that we get exact levels. Okay, you can see there's a gap there. So here we are. You can play this gap to the north side in the big picture. $141.02-ish. Okay, and oh, we have a gap here. 163.13, not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close. I marked out today. Oops. 158.21. All right, so that is the target, 158.21, and I got that from here. Oops, come on. 158.21, and Murat thinks that we're going to make it to the 175 range. So let's mark that out. And I will mark that out. Well, I'll keep it white, and I will text a coordinates 175 plus. Okay, that way I can kind of get a visual. Here, 175. Okay, plus. So, and we have to get to 163 to get to 175, so that is the next leg up after that. So let me show you in the big picture what this looks like on the daily. Wow, gosh, very close. Look at that. So basically that just takes us between 2 and 3 standard deviations. So that's, I think, very doable. And then according to the analysts, based off of 42 of them, giving ARM a max of 210 and to the south side 80 bucks. Yeah, good luck. Good luck thinking you're going to buy it at $80. That's like a swan event to get back to those levels. Don't bank on that one. Can we go lower? Absolutely. To $80? I don't think so. So this is the daily. Let me move this. So the window to the north side, right there, takes us to 169.01, and then back at the middle of the range is 132.72. So that's a pullback. And then this is a pullback also for a gap closure at at 77.33. $77? I just don't think so. No way. I think that will take years and years to get there. That opened up in February 24. Okay, the RSI, I don't know what it's doing. Looks like it's curving curve in here to kind of go sideways on the daily. The weekly looks like it's bouncing. And on the monthly, it's it's way up here, but we haven't overextended ourselves at 70. So yeah, I think that looks pretty good for this, except for this scary thing. All right. Oh, you know what? I'm going to give you a bonus. I'm going to do this so fast because I watched it happen today. Pltr. I was watching a YouTuber, Amit, I think his name is, and I've followed him for a long time. Love his work, and he recounted a story today of some lady selling her home in Hawaii, took the proceeds of $600,000, put it into Pltr, and now she's $11 million richer. Can you imagine that life-changing event? That kind of wealth? Unreal. Okay, 179.54 and resistance. Let me switch that to purple. 181.24. Come on, I just want to make sure okay, yep. And 187.80, 190.16, and 193.01. I hit it. I watched it hit 180.58, the 52-week high. We keep making higher highs. It's been crazy. I own Pltr starting at 1073. I haven't marked out all of my buys, but I still have all of these down here. So I've done very well for myself on Pltr. Not that kind of wealth that the lady made, not even close, but I'm very happy with what I've made. And I did share this information with people and told them to buy Pltr, and I don't know if they did. Okay, so to the south side, 175.32, 172.26, and 169.19. The last time I did buy some to trade, I sold some at 154.25, 146.15, and I bought in at 138.12. I also bought in at, where else? 138.12. Oh, 140.93. All right. And what else is happening with Pltr? Let's take that and extend it. And we've got a gap to watch out for. Here's your pullback. And here's your pullback. Obviously, many levels of support and resistance in between -2 and 2. Turn on your Bollinger Bands, turn on your VWAP, draw your trend lines, your patterns, whatever you like to do. We have this gap that closed at 156.30, and that touched on Friday, August the 1st. But we tanked even more. Look at this. Oh, and it hit my line and bounced off a line that I drew for the middle of the trend, and that became a support line. All right. I made some profit here at 3.7%, 12.4%, and then I've kept the rest. And then we have all of these gaps to the south side. I know people would love it for it to tank back here so that they could buy cheaply again, but I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. All right, that does it for me. Oh, one other thing. I do want to check, what is the price target now? So based off of 29 analysts, 145, wow, 145.77, taking it down all the way to $45. Yeah, good luck. 179 is the current, and $200. Yeah, I think definitely 200. And how will that play out on the daily? Option R. Oh, I made a note to Vanguard. I was ticked off about something, so I wrote them a note. Okay, where are we? Right here, 179.54. So the next leg up takes us to 190.26. And when will we hit that $200? This is on the daily. Let me mark this out. This is August. Come on, August. And this is September. Oh, that says August. Come on. September. Okay. So will we hit 200? No, not. Maybe by the end of September we could get there. I'll be tracking that. All right, that does it for me. That is a look at Aapl, and Pltr. Have a great trading day.